Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to my colleagues for letting me go out of order. I promise to be as brief as possible. Mr. Chairman, or General, thanks for coming today. Humans have a universal need, I think, to be listened to be understood, and to be validated. I think we all share that. I have listened to the Mueller team. I validate them, but I want to be sure I understand them. Has Mr. Mueller or his team changed their conclusions?
You mean during the course of the investigation?
No, today. It's clear, at least according to press reports, excuse me, General, that at one point the Mueller team was unhappy. I think it had to do with your letter. Mm-hmm. What matters to me is, and I'll get to this in a moment, I want to know first, has the Mueller team changed its mind on its conclusions?
Its conclusions as to what?
As to collusion, conspiracy, conspiracy.
Not that I'm aware of.
So the decision not to bring an indictment against the president for collusion, conspiracy with Russia has not changed.
No, it hasn't.
And the conclusion not to bring an indictment against the president for obstruction of justice has not changed.
No.
Okay. I take it from your testimony that the Mueller team was unhappy when you received the letter from Mr. Mueller.
I can't speak to the team as a whole.
All right,
certainly,
Mr. Mueller then.
When I talked to Bob Mueller, he indicated he was concerned about the press coverage that had gone on the previous few days, and he felt that was to be remedied by putting out more information.
Okay. I understood you to say, and these are my words, not yours, the first concern that Mr. Mueller had, he felt like your letter wasn't nuanced enough.
Correct.
Okay. That problem's been solved, has it not?
Well, it was sort of solved by putting out the whole report.
Exactly.
Which was that's why I think this whole thing is sort of mind-bendingly bizarre, because I made clear from the beginning that I was putting out the report, as much of the report as I could, and it was clear it was going to take 3 weeks or so, maybe 4, to do that. And the question is, what's the placeholder? And the placeholder, in my judgment, was the simple statement of what the bottom line conclusions were. And I wasn't going to be in the business of feeding out more and more information as time went on to adjust to what the press was saying.
And that's your call as Attorney General?
Absolutely.
Okay, that wouldn't be the call of a U.S. attorney or a special counsel?
No, not at all.
Okay. Now, the second reason, I mentioned the nuance concern. The second reason that Mr. Mueller was concerned, I don't want to say unhappy, because I'm not trying to be pejorative. I say concerned. He was concerned about press coverage.
He indicated he felt that what was inaccurate was the press coverage and what they were interpreting the March 24th letter to say.
And what were you supposed to do about that?
He wanted to put out the full executive summaries that are incorporated in the report. And I said to him I wasn't interested. And by the way, those summaries, even when he sent them, apparently, they actually required later more redaction because of the intelligence community. So the fact is, we didn't have readily available summaries that had been fully vetted. But I made it clear to him I was not in the business of putting out periodic summaries, because a summary would start a whole public debate. It's by definition under-inclusive, and I thought what we should do is focus on getting the full report out as quickly as possible, which we did.
And that's your call as Attorney General?
Of course, of course.
Okay. And the news coverage issue, well, none of us can control what the news publishes or prints, except the media. But to the extent that an argument was made they didn't have the full report, that's a moot issue too now, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Can you briefly go over with me one more time? I find it curious that the Mueller team spent all this time investigating obstruction of justice and then reached no conclusion. Tell me again briefly why Mr. Mueller told you he reached no conclusion, or he couldn't make up his mind, or whatever. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
I really couldn't recapitulate it. It was unclear to us. We first discussed it on March 5th. The deputy was with me, Ed O'Callahan, the principal associate deputy, and we didn't really get a clear understanding of the reasoning. And the report, I'm not sure exactly what the full line of reasoning is, and that's one of the reasons I didn't want to try to put words in Bob Mueller's mouth.
But he did not choose to bring an indictment. We know that much.
Right.
Regardless of the reason.
Right.
I'm going to repeat quickly in less than 1 minute what we talked about the last time you were here. This is one person's opinion. Okay. As I told you before, I think the FBI is the premier law enforcement agency in all of human history, and I believe that. I do think there were a handful of people, maybe some are still there, who decided in 2016 to act on their political beliefs. There were two investigations here. One was an investigation of Donald Trump. There was another investigation of Hillary Clinton. I'd like to know how that one started, too. And it would seem to me that we all have a duty, if not to the American people, to the FBI, to find out why these investigations were started, who started them, and the evidence on which they were started. And I hope you will do that, and will get back to us. And there's another short way home here as well. All you've got to do is release, the president can, release all the documents that the FBI and the Justice Department pertaining to the 2016 election. Now, you can redact national security information, but just release them. Instead of us going through all this spin and innuendo and leaks and rumors, let's just let the American people see them. And the final point I'll make, when you're investigating leaks at the Department of Justice and the FBI, I hope you will include the Mueller team as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.